All right, we got it. We're live from bear camp here in Montana, and I'm joined by one of my, I guess, good, closer to best friends from a long time, Gary Allen. And then on my other side over here, I have a newer friend of mine, I guess. We met last year, Trevor Stewart from Sitka Gear, and we've been doing a little bit of bear hunting. So what's going on, guys?
We have been doing some bear hunting.
Let's get that mic pulled up there, Trevor. A little bit closer.
I'm going to breathe into it.
There you go.
Like that?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yep, I gotcha.
Check. 1, 2.
You're good now.
Yeah, we've been looking for him. It's been tough.
Yeah,
tough couple days, but
it's been cool though. The fact that one, that Gary, you and I have spent a lot of time hunting together.
Yeah.
In college, and have got to hunt usually about once a year together up at your family cabin in Pennsylvania, but not. And we've been just wanting to do a Western hunt for quite a while. So I'm glad that we were able to make that work out.
Yeah, it was nice that it finally worked out. We, like you said, we've been talking about it for a while, and just so happened to work out this year.
Yeah, I know.
Montana spring black bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys made it out this direction so I could join you too.
Yeah.
I just moved out here from Austin, Texas, so I'm trying to explore it myself. Got my first bear tag in my pocket, and super excited to join you guys out here. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no, it's been cool. So like before, when you got here yesterday, you packed in and was able to find us, I guess. But in Gary, you got in on Sunday. So for anybody listening, there's going to be multiple stages to this podcast and the bear hunt, and it'll probably be a little bit, timelines might be a little bit screwed up. So just stay with me. As you're probably aware, I'm a little bit, not always all there in the head, if you want to put it that way.
No. We're tracking on that.
It's been a long couple days too, so it's hard to blame. It's a little late. Yeah.
Trevor and I had to take the reins today and kind of.
Well, before we get into that, let's start here with Gary. Let's start with you and kind of how you and I met. How would you explain that and our time hunting together back in the day?
Well, we met in college, like you said, and it was just like through good friends. You know, you were friends with some of mine, and that's kind of how we met. I think we met at a party and told me your name was Beau Martonik. And mine's Gary Allen, so that's kind of how
the country
it's kind of how it's kind of how it kicked off, and then realized both of us loved archery hunting, and since then we kind of, throughout college we always went out, and I think I taught you everything that you know, but that's up for debate. But
no, we've I remember. Yeah, I met you at a party there, and we started talking hunting, and it kind of clicked. Clicked right away, and you pretty much introduced me to bow fishing.
Bow fishing,
yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that in college. Killed some turkeys together. Killed some deer together.
Killed some deer together. Same tree. That's right.
Yeah, I shot a doe out of the same tree as you. I remember that hunt, and then I specifically remember that time when we were set up in different edges of this field and on some public land down around where we went to school, and you shot a buck. I actually heard you shoot it from my tree, and looking back, I don't know why it was such a difficult drag, but it was like one of the most miserable drags ever, and it was all flat, I think. Yeah, but it was because
no deer cart, huh?
They cut
no deer cart. No deer cart.
No, they cut the cornfield, and there's like stalks that were up, or I don't remember why, but it just seemed miserable.
There was a couple little like creek bottoms, and those were thickets, and I don't know. It was just miserable. It didn't seem like it was that bad.
It was a longer drag, and there was a lot of multiflora rows and stuff. Anybody is familiar with that? It's just a lot of thorns. Everything there. So yeah, we had a lot of good time hunting in college. Like I feel like most people when they went to college, they like got out of hunting or whatever for a while, and I felt like it just amplified for me because of all you guys, and Gary was on the football team there, and I remember, and all of his buddies that became my buddies. They all had Mondays off, and it was Monday nights. Everybody went out hunting after class, and at least some person had a deer down, and we'd go to Sam's farmhouse and just butcher deer every single Monday during hunting season.
Yeah. And then you shot that buck that one time we went out, and you're like, well, you're going to help me drag it out? And I was like, I got to get to football practice.
No, you had a football game.
Oh, I
That
had.
was a Saturday.
Yeah, what's better, pulling tires or pulling deer?
It was a game, actually. Now that he brings that up, I was like, I got to get to the game.
Yeah, no, but listen, he shows up to like while my deer is dead there, and then he's like, I gotta go, and then I had to drag it, and he didn't even like help me
couldn't
drag.
grab a
He's
leg?
like,
Just
I
push
can't be sore. I gotta play football, and I'm like, holy cow! So I drug that thing out.
And then you still came to the game.
I did.
Yeah.
I made it to tailgating too.
Yeah.
So
With a smile on your face,
with
I'm
the smile on
sure.
your face, yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good times hunting together,
Yeah.
all in Pennsylvania, I guess, up until this point. So, I was excited to get to have you, not have you out like it's my thing, but like to get to hunt with you again and do a little bear hunting, which was both brand new to both of us here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Trevor, do you want to give a little bit of background on yourself? Kind of where you're from, what you're doing, and your hunting background.
Yeah, been hunting a long time. Dad always took me out, which was really nice of him. I think I mentioned came from Austin, Texas, and recently got a job up here in Bozeman at Sitka. So super excited to move up here, and totally different from down there, and in a really good way. There's plenty of places to explore, and getting a hunting license and a bunch of tags to run around and do this type of stuff and hang out with great people like yourselves. And it's been a blast so far, and it's been fun.
Yeah, we've had I think this hunt, like, I don't know, I've just had a blast. I like hunting with people because it's just constant shit talking back and forth. Just like it's just constant. Doesn't matter whether we're whispering in the woods or we're yelling at camp. It goes the whole entire time. And Trevor fit right into the group right from it didn't take very long for you to get comfortable around us, I'll say that.
Yeah, I found you guys. You dropped me a pin, and I hiked in a few miles and found you guys, and yeah, it felt like we've been friends for a long time from the get-go, so it's been awesome.
Yeah, it was funny because so we were planning on just like full-on base camp setup. We're inside the Sitka outside courthouse right now, and we're just like, it's going to be truck camp, and I told Gary that, and pretty sure I told Trevor that too, and then Gary flies in on Sunday. We've already been hunting for a couple days, and we just happened to get like, squirrel moment. We found there's turkeys here. Yeah. So I bought a turkey tag. My brother, and I'll have a podcast with him talking about this hunt, but we went in and called a turkey in, and he killed it, which was awesome. First time I got to see a Merriam's. But I was like, all right, but these turkeys were way back in. They were a little over 3 miles from our camp, and it was just up and down, just kind of annoying to try to get in there in the morning. So I was like, let's backpack in for one day. I'm like, Gary, do you have any stuff? You're like, well, I got a bivy sack. I'm like, all right, you're good. So, and then I texted Trevor from the InReach, and I was like, hey, we're going to pack in. Here's where I think we're going to be at. Do you want to meet us? It actually worked out perfect because you came in, and we had just got back to camp after a morning of not hearing any turkeys. And yeah, we got to kind of make a game plan, and you're new to bear hunting too, so we're all kind of like just fresh to it.
Yeah, it's cool. We're all kind of learning together, and we all have like researched a bit and have like little tips and tactics we picked up, and just kind of sharing them together and all figuring it out as we go. The first day it was a little tough, but we think we heard one maybe behind us, and then it's been getting better as we go, especially with the nice weather we've been having. So
our game plan at first was basically to go in and get up, basically get into some of these big basins and glass these green openings. That's all I heard about on podcasts. Anybody I talked to, that's kind of what my base knowledge was. Well, there was snow in here, and it's just starting to melt, and there wasn't any green up in there. So these places we were going to were just vacant. and based off of a couple buddies were at the camp next to us here, Tim and Dustin, and they had mentioned they ran into a bear down lower as they were walking out, only a few hundred yards from camp, and then ran into another group of people from Pennsylvania, and they ran into, bear down lower. And I'm like, okay, well, because everything was green. And that kind of threw us off a little bit, because in this like, I guess the foothills, you would call it, like between, you have the mountains, then you have the foothills, then you have like the private like ground there, and we're like, okay, so in the foothills you can't really see or glass. It's just these small openings.
Yeah, it's really dense, just timber.
So it's just like, wow, we were kind of ran into this thing like, what do you do? Just sit on one of these openings and hope, sit on a green opening. And so we split up once you got in. Gary went one way.
Yeah.
Explain about a little bit how your setup looked like, or what you tried to do.
Well, so initially we had talked about it. I was going to sit one of those openings, which, like you were saying, it was smaller openings, maybe 200 yards wide. It'd be essentially like we were deer hunting, not much area to really view or look for bears or anything. You're kind of just hoping that they roll by. So upon seeing that, I was like, all right, I'm just going to shift out to this ledge or this rock face that it looked like on imagery, and see if I can see more into this valley, into this whole like mountainside. And fortunately, I was able to see down into the valley, into a little creek bottom, kind of an opening, and then I could also glass this entire hillside. The woods just weren't as thick as like some of the other stuff that we had been in, so I was able to look through that stuff, but it just, I don't know, we just didn't. I just didn't see
produce that.
It just didn't produce that night. But things are turning around, I think. I mean, you guys heard them behind you.
Yeah.
Last night, and then today we finally saw it. What we think is
hold
a pretty
on,
big
hold
one.
on. Let's
Oh, we're
slow
rewinding.
down a second.
We're building the
Get too
story.
excited.
We're
I'm
building
too
the
excited
story here. So Trevor and I and Justin, who's here filming, and we went to another spot where there was a saddle. So we were looking on Spartan Forge and saw where there was like this strip of green grass that went up, and then there was a saddle, and then a strip of green went down. And ideally, we're like, we could sit on the center and see both sides. Well, once we climbed up there, that wasn't necessarily the case. You could see one side or the other, and they were such thin openings that to be able to identify a bear coming across. So, in Montana, you have to shoot a bear that doesn't have cubs. So you have to be aware of that. And by the time, if a bear was just cruising across that opening, you wouldn't have time to be able to identify if there's cubs, dragging behind a couple minutes. So it just didn't really work out. And we were sitting there kind of trying to figure out what's going on. Trevor just took a walk, and he's like, hey, I found a better vantage point that you found on the map. It looked like it was like a opening in the trees there.
Yeah. I mean, we just didn't feel super comfortable. Like, if a bear walked through there, you had to shoot, while it was walking through, and those cubs can be little rascals and be behind or climbing trees or doing whatever they're doing, and we just didn't feel super comfortable doing that if one walked through that small opening. So I took a little hike up the hill from that saddle, and there's a little rock outcropping, and you could see quite a ways, which was just a little better vantage. And it was also raining, so we were just like out in the open, and
Yeah.
it was kind of bumming us out. So we went to this other little rock outcropping and sat there for a minute, and glassed it for a while. It rained on us for a while, and then way out in the field, we saw a little black speck, and I kept keeping an eye on it. It wasn't moving for a while, and then I looked back at it again, and it was in a different spot. So I was like, what the heck is going on? What is that? So I had Beau break out the spotter, and we got it on him, and there's a big old Tom just strutting in the middle of this field way out there, but he was on private. So we debated it for a while because it was a long ways away, and we'd kind of have to give up our bear hunt for the evening to kind of send it on him. But we decided to go after it and see if we could strike him up. And we hiked all the way down there. We skirted around, the private, and set up in the woods and tried to give him some calls, and he he was either gone by the time we got down there. We could never really get eyes on him again, or he couldn't hear us, or he just didn't give a crap about us.
Yeah, he didn't. I don't think I just think he didn't care. He was already done breeding all his hens all morning. He was tired. He was just out strutting by himself, and he was done. And yeah, we had a long walk, and man, we found some really good elk sign. We were getting all worked up there for a little bit. Saw a big muley buck that Trevor pointed out, and he's like, it was standing there in this little bench and had a really white face on it, and you're like, that's how normally you can tell the bucks. And then as we were looking through the binos, you could see the velvet antlers coming out. It looked like it'd be an old.
Yeah, they were
buck.
shooting straight out to the side like it was going to be a nice wide deer.
Yeah.
He's already like outside his ears almost with that new growth he had coming in. And I had never seen a buck like that with that white patch on its nose. It's very prominent. And there's a few other bucks with him. So that was just cool to see.
Yeah. And we worked our way back, and then we found another little knob just a little bit below that actually gave a good glassing point. So we just said, we'll sit here for the last hour and 15 minutes or whatever it was till dark. And just before dark, you were sitting a little bit away from me, and you waved to me like, I hear something, and I could hear some sticks breaking. And it was like a clumsy breaking.
It was like I had my hood on, but that first loud noise I could hear, it almost sounded like someone was like lifting a log or like breaking an old log open or something. It was just something you didn't hear. Like it wasn't like a step of an ungulate, like a hoof step. It was just something different. And so we listened for a while, and you could hear it kind of creeping around back there and walking. And then we kept listening and listening. It wasn't 50. It was between 50 and 100 yards from where we were sitting, just in the tree line. It was getting pretty dark at that point.
Yeah.
So it was a little tough to see, but we were trying to kind of glass in there. It was really thick. But then we heard like a stranger noise. This is like just like a throaty kind of deal. And then the birds were going crazy back there, like all firing off on alarms. And we were hoping, man, we were looking and hoping that it would just kind of poke out and come out of that tree line.
It would have been like a 40-yard shot.
Yeah, because we're like sitting on that knob where it's real green, like, good new growth where it looks like he'd come out and feed. And, there's a good chance he probably saw us sitting on that knob or smelled us or something and just,
Well, we had the thermals and really good. They were rushing down the hill and he was just off to the side. So I felt pretty confident about that portion. But yeah, we were also sticking out like sore thumbs on the knob. We didn't expect a bear to be right there.
Wearing orange and everything else,
Yeah, so it was really cool. And then, so once it got dark, we packed everything up and went out. And I'll be honest, it was a little nerve-wracking walking through there. We weren't trying to use headlamps so we wouldn't spook them. And I'm like, is it a grizzly bear? What is this? And so we got through there and gave Trevor the self-defense shotgun, and we went out and headed back to our spike camp that we had set up in the woods and met up with Gary at that point. And we really went to bed right away. Our tent setup was hilarious too. This is kind of funny. First of all, Gary picked the worst spot in the country to set up our tent.
Because a pretty good spot.
There was a nice little opening down in this bottom with a spring that came out to like a watering hole thing, and water was right there. I figured let's just set tents up here. But then Gary's like, well, what if a bear comes out in this opening?
His military background kicked in.
I thought we were going to be hunting that. Hopefully, hey, maybe there's turkeys right here.
And I agreed with him. And I'm like, okay. So we went up on this hill and found this tiny little flat spot that we tried to shove 3 tents and a bivy sack in. And we all were kind of on a hill a little bit, except for Justin. He had the cream of the crop spot up there. And so we're all like, tapered in. Justin had his Stone Glacier tent, and you and I both had seek outsides that were like there. And Gary's like tucked between two.
He's in like a deer bed under a tree in a bivvy sack, which is that's kind of a good move sometimes.
Yeah, you could fit anywhere with that thing.
Yeah. Oh, it was fine. It was just a little more of an incline than I expected.
If all of us.
I think I started to slide down a little bit midnight, but.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But anyways, the next morning we got up before first light and went down to listen for turkeys and kind of glass, and we all went together, and there's no turkeys, which we were at the spot where Kurt had killed his bird and nothing. And I was like, all right, what can we do here? And what did we do next? I don't remember.
We kind of creeped around, checked that saddle again, and then got up to that little ridge where we could see the night before, glassed a little bit, and then it was just kind of out of that time zone from early morning where you might see bears moving, and we just decided to kind of get out of there because we had kind of burned it up a little bit, and there's just super small openings. We wanted to just get to somewhere we could really see some country and cover some ground with our glass and try and locate a bear. It was the goal.
Yeah, because if we stayed in the evening, the spot where we heard that bear next, our chances of having an opportunity were really low. Because I don't know, it was just, you felt kind of out of the game. So we're like, all right, we've got a lot of sunshine, we've got some rain, maybe that higher country in the mountains is starting to green up a little bit. So at like 9 in the morning, we decided to go back and pack up camp and head down. And I mean, our packs are relatively heavy for the 1 day pack in.
Yeah, especially yours, rifle and a shotgun.
Oh, I know. And Gary's tripod that weighs probably 20 pounds on his own. But hey,
it's carbon fiber tripods.
Yeah.
Hey, pick and choose what you're spending money on.
Well, and then the problem is Trevor lives out here and has got mountain legs, and he's taken off flying, and we're trying to keep up.
Yeah,
we're struggling a little bit. I'll be honest, we were struggling, and but once we got to the downhill, we felt pretty confident at that point. Getting back to the truck.
We booked it out there pretty good. We were back in under an hour probably.
Yeah, we were.
We made a good time back.
That was a good 3 mile hike back in that time. We were covering ground.
Yeah, so we got back to camp, brought my truck over to camp, got set up, and then you cooked us some awesome bison tacos, which were amazing to get off the mountain house diet for a day and get some real food.
Yeah, I got it. Kurt's bison that he had killed in North Dakota last year, cooked some of that up, and I'm the worst camp chef out there because all I had was taco meat and shells. There was no hot sauce.
Taco Bell crunchy shells.
no anything. I'm like, sorry guys, but we were hungry and we ate all 2 pounds of that right away, and it was good. And then Gary decided to go take a bath in the literally like the snow runoff creek that went down through. So yeah,
it was you get the legs back working, and get some blood flowing again.
He was in the pool.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah, we dipped.
It was a little chilly.
Yeah,
a little chilly.
I took like a half bath. I got my upper body and head in and my feet, but I didn't go the whole way, I guess I'm not man enough as you are.
I don't know.
But yeah, we chilled out at camp a little bit. I climbed up. I have a rooftop tent and I had a cot inside the tent, but I climbed up on top of the Diamondback and slept on the hard metal there for a little while. You went up in your rooftop tent and I think you were sleeping in your cot, a little nap. Justin was in here and
we got like 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so. It was perfect,
It's just enough.
Then here's where the grand old plan came in. Trevor's like, we need to get high. We need to get high up there to be able to see down. And nobody disagreed with him at this point. But the spot that he had picked, you could see it from camp.
It was a gamble.
It was a gamble whether we could get there.
It was steep. The topo lines were really, really close together. And just looking at the thing, it's daunting. But it's either that or you hike like we're wanting to go back into that basin you guys were looking at the first day where it wasn't really green yet, but like we've had 2 days of really, really good weather, good sun, some rain. We're like, man, it's got to be greening up in there a little bit, and like there's got to be some animals in there. So we wanted to just get a good like master vantage of that entire basin, which is massive. And I just kind of looked at the map and looking at the knife ridge from camp, and you can see that there's some really cool rocky outcroppings above the tree line where you could really get a good view. And we decided to go for it, and we didn't quite know if it was a good idea or not until we got there. But.
Yeah, and you guys, what I thought was really cool, and what, anybody that comes out west, whether it's your first time or whatever, like when you're looking at navigating steep terrain, you got to look at, specific things. Like, when you guys were talking back and forth, it's like, okay, we want to go up this gut or this little draw. It was just this slight one to be able to go up. And why do you typically like find those, I guess, places to try to get up?
I mean, they're going to be more gradient, obviously, so it's going to be a little bit of an easier walk. But, I mean, that entire time, when we saw that, identified it, and, I mean, thought of that it would be good, but gave enough time that if it wasn't, then we could figure something else out. But, I don't know.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be a grind.
Yeah.
But it's like, to me, getting that master vantage, even if you, like, really can't, it's too far to really get a shot off, like just to locate an animal and locate a bear and try and see something in that basin so you can set up for the the next few days is worth it. But yeah, it was a grind getting up there. It was really steep, and we had to bushwhack our way for quite some time, and side hill, and
we ate some branches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My rifle scope's got some new scars that make it look like a veteran hunter going up. But so we were going up, and it was all like shale and like rocks, and there's like some cliff faces over here, kind of navigating through it. And the thing both you guys brought up was like you have like a plan, but you got to recognize as you're going. And also, putting your tracker on with your map so that when you come back out in the dark, you know how to get through it. Because you don't want to be trying to navigate through cliff country and unknown country with a headlamp on, because you can get yourself in a bad spot really quick.
While that mountain line's tracking you.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Well, we're on this deer trail through this like just nasty, just thick. You got like, I don't even know if it's like, looks like pine shrubs that's like you're tripping on. And Justin was behind me, and he watched both my feet get tangled up and almost go face first down over the hill. And we're going through it, and I look on this trail, and there's a mountain lion track. And Tim and Dustin just had an encounter with a mountain lion the other day. I'm like, yeah, this is a place that if I was a mountain lion, I'd live. So we kept going, and we're all back there kind of cursing Trevor, like, where the hell is he taking us?
Yeah, I knew if this didn't pan out, I wasn't getting invited back on one of their Montana hunts when they come through town. But
it was probably one of the most epic vantage points. It was probably one of the best vantage points you could have in that entire basin, because we could see a ton.
Yeah, you could see a ton. I mean, once we bushwhacked through there, got through the trees, and got to that next ridge, and those rocky outcroppings, we found an awesome bench where we could just sit there and we could see the entire basin and really, really put our glass to work. And, rather than just trying to get lucky and see one come through the small opening, we could see every single opening in that whole basin and the whole hillside. And you could see south-facing slopes, north-facing stuff. Like, you could see everything. You could see the snow line, how it was working up. You could see all the green patches where you'd hope bears would come out and feed in the evening. And so we decided to, obviously we're beat after that hike. So we decided to sit down and just give it the go for the evening.
Yeah. I'm glad we left as early as we did from camp. And it didn't take us that long to get there. So to give you a frame of reference here, we climbed 900 foot of elevation, in 45 minutes over 3/4 mile. So that's steep. That's real steep. And then once from that point, we went another 0.7 miles side hilling, bushwhacking to get to that vantage point. And when we set up, it really didn't take long to start seeing game. And things were a lot greener than they were when you and I were in there 2 days ago. But they were just in patches.
Yeah.
We saw a ton of mule deer. I don't even know how many.
Yeah.
All over. And then we saw elk.
It
seemed like the elk are starting to move their way back up into that higher country there.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a bunch on private. You could see both directions, which was cool. You could see south and you could see north into the basin. So you could see south into the private and some fields, and there's, a herd of elk out there in the fields with some mule deer as well. And then, it seemed like the cows were starting to really work their way back into that basin. I feel like that's kind of a bit of a sanctuary for them and a little bit of a calving ground.
Yep.
So I feel like over the next, couple weeks here, there'll be a lot of calving going on in there.
Yeah. And as we're sitting there watching, the first weird thing that happened was all of a sudden we hear a helicopter.
Yeah.
And this helicopter came through the basin below us. So to give an idea how high up we were, this helicopter came through. We still don't know what kind of helicopter, what they were doing.
No. I mean, it was either fish and game. I didn't even know they had helicopters. I'm sure they do, but either them or maybe some hunters that just booked a helicopter ride. There was some orange riding in that helicopter I saw, just looking and scouting maybe,
Yeah. Yeah, we had the glass right inside. You could see them sitting in there, and they went up every single gully in that basin, which honestly pissed us off.
Pretty low.
They were so
low,
low, and all the elk were running, the deer were running.
Yeah, it boogered everything out of there for a little bit.
Yeah, so that really sucked, and they came right back out and watched them push the elk and deer on private around a little bit, which Dustin, the guy who's at the camp next to us from North Dakota, he was sitting over there where you could see that private too, and he saw them, the helicopter come over and everything. But then after that, we had a guy come through on a horse, no gun, but wearing orange with a whole litter of dogs. If a litter's
I think he had 5 or 6 dogs,
all different kinds.
Yeah, all different kinds.
Yeah, just going through the woods, and we're like, man, we're not. Gary kept saying Mother Nature's going to reward us for this hike, for this effort, and I can't say I was super confident about that at that point.
No.
Well, Mother Nature was trying, but human presence was doing the opposite,
which is typical.
Yeah.
And it was just getting a little bit later. It was after 8 o'clock, probably 8:15 or so.
I think it was right at 8:30, actually.
Was it?
It was right at 8:30 because I was telling myself, I was like, all right, maybe we should call this at 8:30.
Yeah, we got a long hike back.
Yeah.
And a challenging one, so we want to make sure we can navigate the hard parts during daylight.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been looking in that area in probably 30 minutes or so. I'd been focusing more on the closer stuff, and I pulled up my glass, and this is no shit. I didn't tell you guys this, but as soon as I pulled up my glass, that bear was right in my spot. And you had been watching that opening because there was this back part of the basin was covered in snow and different parts of it, and there's one little green meadow
green patch way up there.
It wasn't that big, and I'm like, I think I see a bear, but I don't want to say anything because I've thought I've seen a bear probably 25 times up until that point. And I'm watching, I'm like, no, that's a bear. That's moving. And
you just said bear, and we had all been sitting there for hours waiting for someone to say that word.
Yeah. You're waiting for it. Waiting.
Yeah. And it was kind of funny too because before we packed up there, Gary's like, bare necessities. We need to be light. We need to get up there. We need to do this. So we were light on clothes. We were light on everything. It was hot when we left. It got pretty cold. So it was chilly and, wind was blowing across there and everything. And that just instant morale boost of seeing what looks like a big boar from, over a mile away probably.
Yeah.
A mile away. I don't know.
Shoot, yeah, I bet
Dude,
we're a mile and a half away.
Yeah, mile and a half
We all
away.
haven't seen a ton of bears, but man, it looked like a nice
He looked
bear.
like a good bear.
And
Yeah, and I just had my 9x45 Mavens out. I didn't even have my spotting scope, and then you pulled it up on your spotting scope, and we were able to see it, and we were just super pumped. And he looks like he's in a good spot. But right after we located him and watched him, he just hung out in that meadow there. There was no cubs or anything, so he was just there alone, feeding, and
Jet black too.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, jet black. And so at that point, we packed up our gear and started trying to traverse our way back down. It went pretty smooth.
It was pretty good actually.
Yeah, it was. And poor Justin, he doesn't have trekking poles. I don't know how.
And he's holding the camera, and
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I mean, 4-wheel drive with the trekking poles. I don't know I would have done it without those.
No. And kept saying, "You good? Yeah, I'm good." And yeah, he made it down.
I'd be lying if I didn't say I was worried about him the whole time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And we start going down, and then it gets dark, so we turn our headlamps on as we're navigating, and all of a sudden I see Gary go into this like thick ass like pine tree. I'm like, what is he doing? He picks up a big mule deer shed, an old
Big
one.
score, yeah.
Yeah, a real old one. And so yeah, obviously Gary's head was blown up at that point. He's a land navigator, he's a shed hunter at night. He's all these things, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, so that was cool.
I'll tell you if I'm a bear hunter tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, Trevor and Justin are leaving. Oh, you'll be here in the morning with us, and then Justin's leaving real early. We're recording this at 12:18 right now, so
And
poor
daylight's
Justin.
at 4:30, 5 a.m.
Yeah, so yeah, it's and I don't know. We haven't really 100% figured out what our plan's going to be yet, but I don't think we're not going to try to get after that bear at first light, not because we're up late, but more so from the standpoint of we don't want to bump him or spook him, and he's probably only going to be out the first few minutes of daylight and then go back. And if he stays, unscathed, not having pressure, he's probably going to do the same thing tomorrow evening.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's what our goal is, obviously.
We're hoping for.
That's what we're hoping for. And this is coming from, 3 very inexperienced new bear hunters. So it is what it is. We just have, tried to formulate a plan from what we're seeing and go with it. And it's been kind of fun just trying to figure it out on the fly.
Yeah, I think we're just kind of thinking on like the plan for tomorrow, and it's like if we go in there at 4 a.m., it's like, can we even like figure it out how to get there in the dark? It's a long ways away.
Long walk, and we were up at 5 this morning, and it was light out.
Yeah.
5 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like we're kind of thinking of being a little ways away and glassing for a while and waiting for those thermals to switch once the sun hits that hillside, and then try and sneak up over the top and kind of drop in behind him and find a good shooting spot into that meadow he was in and just wait him out for the evening.
Yeah, and just see, and the other thing is, like you said about going in the morning, is we seen him from 1.5 miles away. We have no idea what that looks like over there, where you can shoot from, how to get in there. It would be very difficult to be able to do that and probably do more harm than good.
In the dark, yeah.
And the first weekend that when we were in here, before you guys got in, there was so much hunting pressure. Like hunting pressure, hiking pressure, people camping. There was just a lot of traffic. Right now, there's not really anybody, knock on wood. And
tomorrow's Wednesday, so it's hitting perfect.
Yeah, and we got some weather rolling in Thursday and Friday, so it's we're gonna try to capitalize tomorrow, and I feel super confident. I do.
Yeah. I'm excited. See what happens. You never know.
I felt super confident in a lot of other situations that haven't worked, but you know what? It's going to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
We'll make it work.
And Gary's a lot, how would say, he's a lot better shooter than I am. So he said, he's like, all right, you spotted that bear, you get first shot. He's like, but that thing better go down quick because my follow-up is coming just as fast. And yeah, so
as soon as you break that shot, the second one's coming.
Yeah. And Gary's been on this trip kind of teaching me a little bit about the long range game, and Gary's very competent at shooting at some pretty extreme distances, which is brand new to me. And it's funny because my gun's a Bergera 300 Win Mag, and Gary's like, you have a Bergera 300 PRC, right?
Yep.
And you're like, Beau, like you're not letting this gun do what it's able to do by, and he's trying, teaching me about, building a dope card and how to adjust for it and all of those different things.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, really, and I mean that could be an hour-long conversation, really. But there's a ton that goes into it, and if you want to get into long-range hunting, I mean, you really just got to spend time on the gun, which is unfortunate in this day and age because ammo's one, hard to come by, and it's expensive. But I mean, if you want to shoot long range, you got to shoot long range, and that's the only way that you're going to get good about it. You know, you want to shoot big whitetail, you got to get out in the woods and scout and
just like
big
everything
whitetail,
else.
just like everything else. But you know, with that too is you got to have a good gun, you got to have good glass, and I mean, and you've got that. So it's just a matter of being at the right place, right time, and really understanding, you know, what's the weather doing, what's the wind doing, if you're shooting farther out, and how that bullet's going to fly.
Yeah. No, it's just been so cool. Like, I mean, you just scratched the surface with me, like talking to me about it and learning, like you need time behind the gun, like you said, to know it. And it is hard to get ammo. Like, so for my gun, the ammo that I was shooting, Brigera said they did all their testing with a specific bullet, and the closest one that for hunting was a Berger 185 grain classic Hunter 300 Win Mag, and I can't find any ammo. I spent the last 3 months trying to find that ammo, and I can't find it. Luckily, I had one box left. I bought Kurt found 2 extra boxes of something that's similar, but it's not the same in case I needed to go that route. But it's so anyways, I didn't have, you know, a lot of ammo to spend time with and sit there. So I'm not going to be taking those long shots as Gary is competent at doing. But you have that Kestrel. What's that Kestrel thing you have?
That's just a Kestrel, and it's just the weather meter. So it's going to give you your density, altitude, your humidity, temperature. I mean, wind. It'll give you the wind at your position. Which that's another thing too is, you know the wind at your position, but what's the wind doing at that bear?
Yeah, it's swirling everywhere.
It's in that canyon.
Basin, yeah.
I mean, that's a huge thing too is now, all right, so now we're talking longer range and you're talking that wind. Well, that wind's not just coming straight across like if you were out in a plane or something. It's coming off those hillsides. There's a lot of things.
You got
really
wind, you got thermals, you got terrain and objects that are
and as
flowing like water.
Yeah, as the temperature changes, now your density altitude's changing, so now you got to account for that. And
Gary's not going to admit it, but he's a very legitimate sniper. So I've been picking his brain too, because I've been bow hunting forever, just because lived in Texas and like drawing a tag out of state and hunting out west, which is what I wanted to do. The only tags I could really draw were, archery tags. So that's kind of what I've been doing for the past, 5-6 years. So I've been picking his brain too. I need to get myself a rifle. All I have is Grandpa's old 30-06 and my dad's 7 mag. So I'm trying to figure that game out too, and he's a great resource for it.
No, it's cool to like learn that. Like I think I could get really into it and like geek out on it. Like if I spent the time and did it, and it's probably a rabbit hole, I'm sure.
Oh, it's a rabbit hole. It's just like your bow is a rabbit hole. Oh, this thing. Guns and it's a rabbit hole. And
I think it's cool because it's not like, oh, you just point the gun and this is what happens. Like there's a lot that goes into shooting that. And you and I were out your first night here, and we were just sitting there and it was super calm, and you're like with your gun and me talking you through it, if a bear was out there at 450 yards, we could dial in. I would have no concerns. You have a steady rest with you being able to make that shot. But then once you start introducing wind and all these other different things, that changes
those variables change it. Yeah.
Quite a bit. So it's cool to get to pick your brain out here and just kind of get me thinking about that. And anybody else that's really, you can increase your odds of success by being able to shoot further, especially out west. Like I've always rifle hunted, eastern whitetails in Pennsylvania. I hunted, caribou in Alaska, which was different, but most of mine's been eastern whitetails where a 200-yard shot's a long shot. Like,
Oh yeah,
you
you're good. You're good with the 30-30 lever
Yeah.
gun.
Yeah.
in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so it's a different world out here, I guess, from the rifle hunting standpoint.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, some people think it's unethical to take those longer shots, but if you have the time on the gun, your gun, and you're confident with those shots, then it's no different than taking a shot with a bow on a deer or something like that.
Yeah.
It just increases your chances and your opportunities out here when you're just looking at such a big landscape. Things are so far away. It's sometimes not possible to even get over there and get closer.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
you have to shoot across canyons sometimes. That's like really the only option.
It's the only option. Yeah. And I think understanding all those things that play into it is huge, and that's why it comes into play, right? And there's so many people out there too that, don't spend the time to learn that and understand it. And, case in point, I was out in Colorado elk hunting 2 years ago now, and we had a couple guys come past and we had 2 bulls bedded at 400 yards. Couldn't make that shot down. And, in the back of my mind, me and my other buddy were like, I'll take that shot standing offhand, 400 yards, 2 bulls bedded like that.
Yeah.
Because you're get easier than that. We've, I've put the time in to learn that and understand it, and feel confident with those shots. So
Yeah. It's the same thing. Like when you look at, okay, say you're going to shoot an elk, there's people that might be competent out to 40 yards. And then you have someone like Levi Morgan that can make that shot blindfolded at 90 yards without, thinking, obviously there's the animal behavior and all that other stuff into play, but just like making that shot's a whole nother thing. And depending on your competency level. So, yeah, so that's cool. I'm excited. I'm excited for tomorrow and for us to get out there and see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we can find that guy again. Hopefully hopefully he's got some sort of pattern and is going to hit that meadow again. Hopefully you guys can get in there and kind of get set up and ready. And it's going to be a last light thing, kind of like. It's just like the way bear hunting is. It seems like you only really see them. They only really poke out in the evening there and give you that opportunity. So hopefully he'll come back out.
Yeah, and it'll be me and Gary alone on that lonely night pack out. And since you guys are leaving us, so
yeah,
I wish I could stay.
I hope that's the situation, because I will definitely embrace a late night pack out. That would be just fine with me.
Oh yeah, we'll get it done
at this point. Yeah, we're gonna get it done. I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
But anyways, well, I think we should probably close this one off here, and I'll have another podcast. Probably do that one with Kurt, possibly Gary if he's still around at that point with how this story plays out and the rest of our hunt plays out. And
you guys both have tags, so get one tomorrow and. Keep it rolling.
Well, I think 2 is going to come out tomorrow.
Yeah.
2 big boars are coming out in the same spot.
Yeah, they're going to fight
at the same time.
And we're going to have to separate.
They're fighting, and then we got, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Oh, big things.
Settle it.
Yeah.
We got big things coming.
We have big things coming, that's all. All right. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast here late at night when you want to go to bed. And yeah.
No. Been fun, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you having us out.
Yeah, appreciate it, and look forward to the days to come here.
Heck yeah, man.